The NBA has been holding All-Star games since 1951. And every year since, players and fans have been airing their grievances about who did and didn't deserve to be there.
I got a lot of problems with you people. Now, you're gonna hear about it.
This year was no different, with Snubs taking to social media to seemingly protest being left out of the annual mid-season festivities. Christian Wood reacted to the news he wasn't named an All-Star by calling out the Shaqs, sorry, I mean the casuals, on Twitter, even though reserves were chosen by coaches. But it doesn't have to be this way. While the league has revolutionized its playing style over the years, and been open to experimentation when it comes to the actual All-Star game, the NBA's process of selecting the players who will compete in that game hasn't changed with the times. Here's how the association can modernize All-Star rosters and cut down on the number of players with legitimate gripes about being snubbed. The most obvious fix is to simply expand the All-Star rosters from 12 to 15, opening up 6 additional All-Star spots between both conferences. Before you make me okay boomer you, if you're sitting there thinking this is just another millennial exercise in handing out participation trophies and that it will skew the historical significance of All-Star selections, hear me out. Expanding the rosters isn't just about rewarding more players or addressing hurt feelings. It's actually in the interest of fairness and makes mathematical sense. Remember that first All-Star game way back in '51?
How old do you think I am?
48.
20 players were selected as All-Stars in a league that only included 110 total roster spots across 11 teams. Nearly a fifth of the players in the league that year were considered All-Stars. When the league first adopted its current 12-player per conference All-Star rosters in 1982, there were only 23 teams in the league. There were literally more All-Stars than teams. Now, 39 years later, the NBA's a 30-team league boasts much more international flavor and worldly competition than ever before. 488 different players have logged playing time this season, but there are still only 24 All-Stars. Less than 5% of the entire player pool. It's also not like 24 is some magical number that can't be toyed with. The league names injury replacements for the All-Star game every year, but the number of replacements necessary is dependent on how many stars end up unavailable for All-Star weekend, which lends itself to inconsistency. If we just look at the last 5 years, between injury replacements and special circumstances, the total number of All-Stars has bounced around from 26 to 25, all the way up to 29, 28, and then back down to 25.
Boom, click and go back this way. Boom, here, click and go that way. Boom, that way. Click here and go back this way.
So why not just expand the rosters to 15 players each, have a standardized number of 30 All-Stars per season, which, by the way, would still represent a lower percentage than bygone eras enjoyed, and then just not name any injury replacements unless more than 3 players on one team were unavailable, which is unlikely to happen.
Your logic is right.
There's also the question of why we still need equal distribution between both conferences. The All-Star game's no longer West versus East, so why can't the NBA just ensure its best players are represented, regardless of conference? Again, spare me your cries about respecting tradition. We have captains picking teams now like it's a schoolyard run.
Miles. Come on, Shaq.
We have starters being selected by a combination of fans, media, and players now. And players can even vote for themselves. Do you realize Jordan Bone, Skylar Mays, and Mamadi Diakite all got at least one player vote? You're not even sure whether I made those names up or they're real-life NBAers. We can have an Elam ending to the game itself, but we have to protect the sanctity of balanced conference selections? When I asked Commissioner Adam Silver about removing conferences from All-Star consideration a few years ago, he said part of the problem was that the coaches select the reserves. And because of imbalanced scheduling, those coaches tend to see and know players within their own conference better. But the NBA's actually got the most balanced schedule of the 4 major leagues. And each coach still has to prepare for every single team in the league at least twice a year. I think they're qualified to evaluate the All-Star merits of every player. Depending on how a team's schedule plays out, you might even face a non-conference opponent more than an in-conference opponent in the pre-All-Star portion of your season. If 30 players, regardless of conference, got All-Star spots this season, do you really think guys like Trae Young, DeMar DeRozan, Fred VanVleet, or Bam Adebayo would have all missed out? Devin Booker sure as hell wouldn't have had to wait for an injury to make the team. Sure, there are always going to be some logistical hurdles to clear. What happens to the contracts of players who have all-star bonuses if all-star rosters expand and it becomes easier to hit those bonuses? How difficult would it be for all-star coaches to ensure 15 different players get at least some playing time?
I'm gonna be playing out there, right? I ain't trying to be sitting on the bench, man. Man, you better go to work.
And of course, you're always going to have players who feel disrespected by missing the all-star cut, no matter how big the rosters get.
Because you don't gotta love me, but you will respect me.
Side note, if your list of all-star snubs has like 10 names on it, they're not all snubs. The 35th best player in the league didn't get snubbed. He's just not an all-star. But if the NBA wants to address its dated all-star selection process in a way that's sensible, fair to modern stars in a deeper league, and showcases more of its top-end talent, the solutions aren't very complicated. 30 players, no conferences, and the best damn field of all-stars the NBA will ever produce. Thanks for watching. If you liked this video and want to see more content like this, be sure to hit that subscribe button.